So the last video was introductory to Sui TypeScript SDK, and in this video, I'm going to just take a couple steps further, right? And so the first thing we want to do is I want to show you how to send programmable transactions. But first, you have to understand what programmable transactions are. So here's the thing: programmable transactions are Sui's way of like batching transactions, but it's not really batch transactions per se. It's more like you're building a transaction that you want to send to the blockchain, right? And so in this case now, you see that we sent a coin to one person. So let's actually just try sending a coin to multiple people, right? And so first thing I want to do is remove this, right? I'm just going to remove this, and I'm also going to remove this. Then we do not need to split coins for one person anymore because we want to split for multiple people this time around. And I'm also going to remove all of this, but I still need this address because I want to use it in the second transaction. So I'm just going to comment it out. Great. So now in this case, we want to send food coins to multiple addresses. First, I want to paste a couple of addresses, right? So pretty much it's going to be a list of addresses, pretty much just 2 addresses, including this one here, and then it is a array of objects that map to an amount for each address. That said, now I want to transfer to these 2. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is actually to split. They have varying amounts, so we have to split coins for each of them and then send the transaction. I want to do all of this in one programmable transaction, which means that I'm going to be sending only one transaction, and then everything gets sent to the blockchain, and then we pay gas only when once. That said, the way you can easily do this is still with split coins. So it's coins, but I already have coins here, so I'm just going to do all coins. Yeah, this should work. And then it's equal to tx or split coins, right? And now I want to pass in gas, so it's, and then I want to also pass in a map, right? So pretty much I want to pass in a map that maps each transfer to an amount. So it's going to be transfer.map, and then passing transfer, and then transfer.amount. Yeah, we do have amount here, right? So yeah, transfer.amount. Right, okay. So this is actually supposed to be here. Good. So now that works. Now we can now easily transfer to each address. So the way we're going to do this is transfer.forEach. So for each address in the transfer object, we want to send or transfer some coins, and so it's transfer.forEach, and then transfer index. It's going to, let's not forget, and now specify that I want to transfer. So it's tx the transfer objects, and now specify the coin. So it's coins, is that what I called it? All coins actually. So index, right? And then out here and specify transfer dot to. Great. Now pretty much now we want to send a transaction, right? So what we've done here is first we declared multiple addresses, we split the coins based on the addresses, right? And now we want to transfer to each address the amount that's supposed to be going to each of them. So that's what we did here. So the next thing we want to do, of course, is to send the transaction. So it's await client dot sign and execute transaction. Sign and execute transaction. Sign and execute transaction. And so in here we'll pass in our signer. So it's signer and it's key pair. and then also we want to pass in our transaction, so and just tx. Great. And so now when we run this, we should get a digest. So let's easily print out the digest. Console.log results.digest. So running this, we get the digest, right, and everything happens in one transaction. So the final thing I want us to walk through is sponsor transactions. And so let's say that you wanted to do something, right? So in this case, you do not want to sponsor the transaction by yourself, or say you want to pay for transactions for your users, how you could go around that. And so first you have to import or like get the key pair for the address that you want to use to pay the gas. So these are user key pair, right? So I'm just going to refactor this and name it user key pair. Refactor name user key pair. And as you can see here, this is the only place where it changes, right? This is the only place where we are using this key pair. Now I'm going to paste sponsor key pair, right? And this is funded with fold as well. So as you can see here, I pasted a sponsor key pair, but that's not all actually. There are some other things you need to do. So first things first is that you actually have to build the transaction without a sponsor before doing anything. And so how you can do that is very simple. When you create a new transaction, you have to set a sender. So in this case, we want our sender to be the user key pair. And so the way you do that is tx.setSender, sender, yeah, not set, just regular set sender. And then in this case, we want to use user key pair, get public key, and to Sui address, right? So this is the user key pair, right? And so the next thing we want to do is, now that we have specified the sender, we want to build kind bytes, right? So pretty much want to build transaction and then specify. So the way we do that is this kind bytes tx.build, and in here we're going to specify two things: the client and then our transaction kind. So it's only transaction kind, set it to true. And now that we've done that, the next thing we want to do is actually modify the transaction with the sponsor. And so the way we can do that is this sponsored transaction. It's transaction from kind, and then specify these kind bytes, right? So now this is the sponsor transaction, and now we can now set the sender and set the gas owner. And in this case, we want to set like the user key pair and then the sponsor key pair. So how you can easily do this is our sponsor transaction dot set sender, right? So as you can see, I auto-completed it to set the sender as the user key pair, and then do the same thing again, but this time around we want to set the gas owner. So set gas owner, and then this should be sponsored key pair, sponsor key pair. Now finally we want to build the final transaction bytes. So I'm just going to do that here. So the build, and then specify the client. So it's client. Cool. Now for some housekeeping, we easily want to just execute the transaction block, and this time we want to pretty much specify the signature of the user and the sponsor. So in this case, I'm just going to go back to where we signed the transaction before. So this entire thing, I'm just going to remove it and then remove this as well. And this time around, I'm going to use this. So it's the same thing we normally do, but in this time around, we actually have to specify that both of them have to sign the transaction, right? So it's execute transaction block, and then in here we're going to specify everything. So first we want to specify the transaction block, which is like the byte that we built before, that we called built bytes, and then we want to also specify the signatures. So signature is going to be a list of the result or array of the results. So it's user signature. So first I actually have to create the user and the user and the sponsor signatures, because if I do that here, it's going to get a whole lot messy. So I'm actually going to have to declare two signatures, right? So one of them is going to be for the user and the other one is going to be for the sponsor. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So signature, user signature, so in this case, once we use the user key pair dot, and then once we sign transaction to sign the bytes, so sign transaction, then the build bytes. I'm just going to copy and paste this and then modify it for the sponsor. So here it's going to be sponsor, and in this case it's going to be sponsor key pair. Now that that's done, I can now specify the signatures. So in this case it is user signature and then followed by the sponsor signature. Cool. So now we can also specify some options in every other transaction that we do, but I'm not going to do that here. And then now we can now log the results. So it's as easy as console.log result.digest. Right, so everything looks good. Just for a recap, we're still sending the FUD to multiple addresses, and then still the same programmable transaction, but in this case we have built a transaction. So you've seen how to build the transaction, and then we want to sponsor the transaction with a different address, and so you've seen how to do that. And then we built the transaction bytes and then had both the sender and the sponsor sign the transaction. Cool. Now let me just run this. And now we have this. So as you can see here, we already have a digest now. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to just go to an explorer and show you what this looks like. So this is, I'm also going to go to Sui Vision. I'm going to search for the digest. Go to transaction. So this is a transaction block, and as you can see here, it was sponsored by an address, right? So you see the sponsor transaction, and it's also programmable transaction. So I don't think they show it here, but I'm just going to open this in Sui Scan. I think Sui Scan shows you that it's a programmable transaction. So yeah, as you can see here, programmable transaction type, and then you also see that there's a sponsor signature and there's a user signature. Now one other thing I was going to teach you guys was how to do smart contract calls from TypeScript, but it's a case of like I do not have any smart contract how to make call to right now. So what's going to happen is I'll probably just do another tutorial for that, but just always remember that you can always visit this as a guide. And then so just in this advanced TypeScript page, you'll see what it looks like to make a smart contract call. So just create a new transaction and then make a move call, and that's pretty much it.